Welcome back, family. Welcome to another episode of Bettermindz Interrupting. I am Trini, your personal spiritual trainer, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Brown Girl Interrupting, Maria. How are you?
I am wonderful. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. How you doing today, Trini?
I'm doing fine. It's good to see your face. I haven't talked to you, of course. Again, we just haven't been having those conversations, but we always connect spiritual.
Of course we do, but life's been busy, right? So
Life is busy. Life is really busy. So, how was your week?
It was good. It was very busy, but a little productive. I did some writing and some other things, so that was a good
Okay.
thing. That was a good
Okay.
thing. How was your week?
Busy. Too busy. Too busy. By the way, I got a 96 on that exam.
Ooh, look at you. I love it. So for those of you who don't know, Trini is in school in addition to working and kids and podcasts and multiple podcasts, right? Like she is a busy lady who is doing a lot of things. So 96, that is freaking amazing.
Yes, I'm going to tell you. I didn't think I was going to get it. It was tough. But today's show, what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about?
The topic is, do you control your emotions or do your emotions control you? It's a good topic. I picked this one. I picked this topic, and I'm going to tell y'all the truth, particularly because of Will Smith. But we're going to get deeper into that throughout. But this shall help us too. So let's start by focusing on emotional control. What is emotional control? I'm about to tell you. You know I am. So emotional control is the ability to identify and regulate your emotions and respond in a socially tolerable and flexible way, and also have a certain level of control over spontaneous actions. Emotional control includes both good and negative emotions, although it generally refers to an individual's attempt to govern the development, expression, or experience of highly disruptive emotions and impulses that might have severe effects. This is supposed to be accomplished by the application of cognitive or behavioral methods. Okay. You know, I gotta pause sometimes because, interrupting be interrupting.
Well, look, I'm waiting for the break of the pausing, right? Because I'm processing. I think there's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of control that has to go into it. So there is, to answer your question, we can control our emotions rather than our emotions controlling us. However, do we, and how do we?
Okay, we're going to get deep into that. So throughout the day, we are all exposed to stimuli that might cause a variety of emotions. All our events that we run into, everything we do, everything we see, everything we hear, it's stimulant. It's a stimulant to our brain. Our brain acts on what we feel. It acts on all our senses. Okay. So, if we react improperly or excessively to these cues, it might have a detrimental impact on our capacity to blend in successfully in a social setting. As a result, we must all maintain some level of emotional practical all the time. Being able to regulate our emotions allows us to assist yourself in dealing with troubling occurrences and challenging situations and finding sensible answers. 2, assist you to better recognize and deal with your emotions, allowing you to manage your feelings and emotions rather than allowing them to dominate your response correctly and safely to risky circumstances. 3, boosting your self-esteem can provide you with a sense of autonomy and security. 4, build and support your interpersonal interactions. And the last one, it will enhance your performance in specific areas of your life, such as a job and school, if you know how to regulate your emotions. I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna jump back out. I'm double dutching right now. Like Chris Rock, he regulated his emotions. Now let me jump back out. Okay. So, what does emotional control consist of? A certain emotion is elicited when a person is exposed to a stimulus or an emotional trigger. 3 components are frequently involved in the psychological regulation process. 1 is taking the initiative in actions. 2 is preventing such actions. And 3 is modulating reactions. Let me tell you what that means. Modulating meaning controlling your influence on your actions. Altogether, modulating reactions is changing from one form or condition to another, which is what Will Smith did. Double dutching, jumping in. He didn't modulate his reactions.
No, he did not.
His reaction at first was a good one, but his eyes saw something different and changed the circumstances, which had him acting in a different way. Let me jump out. I'm double dutching. Okay, so emotional regulation can be thought of as a moderator. It assists us in filtering the most important information and allowing us to attend to or engage with it in a way that does not elicit unpleasant feelings such as tension. Researchers believe that the way we feel and interpret our emotions influences the way we think, make decisions, and live our life in general. A well-regulated person is more likely to have greater emotional balance, judgment, and control over their behaviors. They will be able to better determine which circumstances to embrace and which to avoid.
So, I mean, the benefit of emotional control is clear, right? Like
it's clear.
There, you could do all these things and you could be good at all these things and you can be productive and you can be positive and you can just engage with people in a much healthier way when you have control over your emotions.
Exactly. We had 2 examples of it though recently. Chris Rock and Will Smith.
Which was clearly the opposite.
Controlled his emotions because I'm sure he wanted to do other things. I'm sure he wanted to get his revenge. I'm sure he wanted to defend himself. I'm sure. But it wasn't the right time or place to do that. So he knew how to regulate his emotions. Will Smith, on the other hand, due to all of the things that he's been going through on account of his wife, all the depression, all the anxiety, all that stuff. And he just had a breaking point. And when you have those breaking points, you cannot regulate your emotions. Why? Because it was a trigger there, one. And because you wasn't aware of how you might respond or react, the situation went left. And on top of that, not only did the situation go left, but that experience was rememberable, not only by yourself, but by others. Oh, well, that's another imprint that you put on yourself.
Right. Well, and I think then it goes to context of when your emotions come out, right? So he chose a pretty damn big night for those emotions to flood out, right? With no gatekeeping, right? And yes, and I will say, right, like he was triggered, right? So he reacted one way and then was triggered, and the whole thing shifted. And yeah, it's probably like the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Because there's been so much between their dynamic and things. But so in that way, when your emotions are triggered, going back to our conversation, right? Let's jump back in, right? I'm double dutching too, right? With you? Okay. All right. So when we come back to this conversation, the thing is that in the context of what was actually said, it didn't warrant that level of emotion, right? So the repercussion of not having control over your emotions is that your ability to regulate at the moments when you need to, like that for sure was a moment to regulate an emotion, right?
You think?
If you go pick a moment, right? Probably the Oscars, probably that moment, right? Like, you know, like when someone tells a joke and like it as a comedian and you sitting in the front row of this comedy situation.
He know better. He know
right?
better.
But that's the thing, because the thing I think what we're getting to is that his emotional regulation has been off for a long time.
A long time. A very long time. And that triggered made that situation happen. On top of the trigger, because you got to put the events. His relationship being live, his wife not being a good wife because she putting out too much harmful, hurtful things about her husband. I don't know how you can reconcile, because now you got his mind all messed up. Just on the fact that you're telling the whole world what you don't like about me, instead of just telling me in my own private home to my face. She know better. They both in therapy. But you making stuff live. You need attention that bad? You need attention that bad? However, on top of that, there was maybe, I'm going to say about good 3 people before Chris Rock that touched on Jada and Will Smith at the same time. Why he didn't smack the other ones? Why he didn't go on the other ones? What was it that made him, and this is a rhetorical question, but I want you to answer it. What was it? I know the answer, but I want you to answer it. What was it at that moment that made him react the way he did?
Oh, for sure, it was her. But I think it was also like, I think to me, when I look at it and we look at the big picture, right? The thing, and this goes to emotional control, is that emotional control comes from a buildup, or lack of emotional control, right? Is a buildup of things. Mm-hmm. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, but he's been emasculated in public multiple times, right?
Bam! And now I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you right there, because you hit another point. He was demasculated for a very long time. His wife made him look like a straight punk. Okay? On top of that, might be a time for me to show my masculinity, how masculine I really am. But wrong time and wrong place.
And ridiculous reason, right? Like, so
ridiculous.
Like the context of it, like, I mean, had Chris Rock made a comment about their marriage, about the cheating, about like something else, like about how he wasn't satisfying his wife, whatever it was, right? Had it been a different kind of comment, it might have warranted a reaction that was more extreme. The problem with this whole dynamic is that the extremeness of the behavior and the actual comment are not aligned. Like, they're not equal.
They're not aligned. He needed to get some stress off. He needed to get something and prove something. But because he didn't control those emotions, he did it in the wrong way. And it's costing him big time, because I don't see it being a positive outcome. They're slowly getting him. And if he wasn't there, he gonna be there, meaning in depressed land for a while.
Oh, he's there for a minute. Like, let's be honest. Come on now.
Now, to me, if you ask me, I think they need to get a divorce. Because it's not a good dynamic. And on top of that, this was some years, maybe the little boy was 19 or 18. But why Jada being a pedophile? Allegedly. And no one touches on that. No one is touching on that. A little boy, your friend. How? Now I see why when he was, I think, 16, he moved out and had his own place. When everybody was like, they let him get his own place, they didn't know why until now. You slept with that boyfriend. She married to the streets. You right, Ransom Jr. She slept with her child's son. She married to the streets. That is
right. So, okay, so I'm gonna say, and I agree with that comment, and definitely, right? Like, but I will say two things. One is that I think, like, I'm not going to comment on divorce, because I think in the end, right, people got to make the decision for themselves. Now, what I will say is that I think that they need to decide, is this the right situation for them? Because if you that unhappy where you're going to erupt like that, that eruption might have been out on like a full like public stage, but that eruption is going to come in a whole lot of other ways.
That's
from
true.
Here on out, right?
He's so damaged. That relationship got so much toxicness in it. It's the only way and because I said the divorce don't mean they can't get back together. They need a whole clean slate. They need to leave each other, and if it shall permit for them to come back, they come back. They do their due diligence, because they tried the separation. They tried to split up. She the one who keeps saying she not satisfied. He not satisfying her. She needed to feel good. All those type of things in your husband's face. She emotionally abused that man.
Yeah.
Emotional abuse is just as worse as physical abuse.
Oh God, yeah, it's manipulation, right? And there's a little narcissism in her, right? I think if you look at the whole picture of so many things, there's definitely some narcissism in her, right? Like, but I mean, the whole thing is definitely an example of lack of emotional control on both people's part. It's not just her lack of emotional control, because the truth of the matter is, had she not responded that way, he would have
none of that wouldn't have happened.
He would have laughed it off and left it like that, right?
Like he was doing.
Lack of emotional control in her response to feeling that was some attack on her. And then also, I mean, honestly, like, it felt like a moment of her trying to control the situation, right?
Yeah, if you look at, okay, so they said that they boycotted the Oscars, right? And before they went, if you go on, I don't know if it's on Jada's, but on Will Instagram, they getting dressed. They dressed up. They did their little.
They did a whole thing on TikTok.
But did you
and
read
everything.
what it said? We're getting dressed up to create chaos.
Yes.
Did y'all plan that shit? But everybody didn't know about it. I'm saying them two. Did them two plan that shit? Did y'all have some kind of animosity with? But I doubt it, because you pretty much getting kicked out of Hollywood.
I can't imagine like that comment was really a thing of like them planning something, because the truth of the matter, I mean, like, that's a lot of coordination with Chris Rock and a joke and like, so I don't think
they knew what they was going to do, but I know they knew that they was going to create some type of a chaos.
They weren't going to just toe the line.
It could have been on the red carpet. It could have been before. Like, he created the scene before.
Right.
He smooshed the little reporter dude that tried to give him a little. I mean, I understand that. Don't be kissing me, because I'm going to do the same thing too. But, folks, we got to learn how to control our emotions so it don't get out of hand, and then you got everybody talking about it. We don't need that type of stuff. So, we know what happens when you don't regulate your emotions well. We see examples. There are indications when a person has difficulty regulating their emotions, which are having difficulty controlling the effect of emotional arousal on the quality of their ideas, activities, and interactions. So if you at home gearing up, we gonna have a good old time. We gonna start something, I don't know what, but we about to do this thing. We gonna crank it up. If you in that energy already, you put yourself in that situation. You manifested your situation. Okay? Be careful what you speak. We are magical. Our words are magical. Words are spells. You creating, you're manifesting, you're doing all that craziness. Be positive when you're speaking, please. So we all can get along. Like Martin said, can't we all just get along? Martin, tell them.
Clearly not. Not if we're not all emotionally regulated, we can't get along. So we all need to be emotionally regulated so that we can get along, right? Like, that's the key.
So we need to get down to them triggers. We need to know what's triggering us before we get triggered. We need to know, last time, like, okay, so Will Smith, you know that you're unbalanced. You know you're going through a lot of things. And anyone that say anything, that no matter how small or big on the scale it is, you're going to go off the hinges. Now, this is where the responsible person in you, Will Smith, this is where it gets responsible, because you're too old to be doing these types of things. You're supposed to know better. Clearly, you got some more growing and healing to do. So what you should have done was know that you was already pissed off. You know you already hyped because you already put yourself in that mood and moment. And you chose the wrong time. Why is that? Why you couldn't control because he knows his triggers. He went through therapy. Trust me. He knows his triggers. He wrote a book. Trust me. He knows his triggers. Mm-hmm. He went on national TV teaching everybody about emotions. He knows his triggers.
Okay, but knowing your triggers and being able to regulate your emotions are not always synonymous, right? Like, because the thing is,
why
like,
is that?
I can know
why
because I can know my trigger. Mm-hmm. And it's like, in theory, I can be like, so this is the thing that upsets me. But if I don't know how to apply that emotional control in the moment of the trigger, then I can know the trigger, see the trigger coming, and still have no control over what I'm going to do because my emotions have taken over everything still.
Don't work like that.
No?
It don't work like that. Because if you know your trigger, you will know, oh no, I'm not dealing with that. If you decide to still act on that trigger because you know about it, whether you controlled it or not, you know about it. You can't say that this is going to trigger me and I know I'm going to get mad, but I don't know how to control my anger when I get triggered. Did you hear that? I know I'm going to get mad, but I don't know my anger when I get triggered.
Okay.
Hello, LJ.
Hello.
Birthday girl in the house. Happy birthday.
Ooh, it's a birthday. Happy birthday.
Carmela. Okay, so right. So a person that knows their triggers, they know themselves. They're a little deep. They are aware of things. The not knowing or being able to control at that point when you do know your triggers is an excuse. Now I can understand that you got triggered and then you realize at that moment, after you got upset, oh, that's why I got mad. I can't do that no more. I need to figure this thing out if you want to change. But if not, you just going to keep giving excuses or ignoring your triggers. There's no I don't know in that. We can't forget that we are not perfect. So we are not perfect. That's right.
We're human beings first. And so to Carmela's point, I think, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm just like, I'm struggling with it a little bit because I think the thing is that just knowing something is not the same as understanding how to respond to it when you're in the moment of it. Because
of yourself.
Good evening, Shaharia.
Good evening. We're talking about emotional control. Is you controlling your emotions or are your emotions controlling you? But go ahead, finish.
So I'm wondering though, like the thing is that if I'm being triggered, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that this is a trigger for me, but my emotions are so, like, it's a biological response, your emotions too, right? Like it's cortisol rushing to your brain. It's your amygdala being hijacked. It's all this neurological stuff happening. And yes, you can get control of it. However, we are human and we slip up, right? And so when I'm not aware of my control, when I'm not in control of myself, that trigger can still lead to me emotionally being a mess.
Of course, but you are aware of that. Passive people are passive. Okay.
Passive people are tired of being passive. That's true, right? And then they move to aggressive.
Monolith, though. he don't represent all passive people. That's true. He don't. And I control my reactions, but I can't control my emotions. You cannot. But you are aware of your emotions and your triggers. I'm going to need us to stop giving us excuses. And yes, we are human. But however, because I'm rounding y'all up for a reason. However, in that sense, is there a disorder going on? Could there be some type of disability link to that? That not being able to control the emotion, or when you get triggered, even though you're aware of it, still not being able to control that emotion? Could there be a disability linked to that? Think about our previous podcast.
But does it depend on the level of how much control you have over your emotions too?
Not if a disability is in place.
Disability.
Not if a disability is in place. We're going to dig into it. So, there are some researchers that imply a relationship between emotional control and certain mental health disorders, such as anxiety and depression. I'm going to stop right there before I go any further. Now, anxiety. Before I say, let me read this comment. Disability? No, I don't think so. It's okay to be triggered. Hurt and trauma exists. It's normal and human to be triggered and to be emotional. That is correct. I think it's a disability to not have it show emotions. That is true.
Right.
But we're going to dive deep into
narcissism.
it. So, if you have, because anxiety is a disability. Did y'all know that? Okay. So, if you have anxiety and depression depression alone does so much to a person. It could be a result to you acting even though you know you're triggered. But that depression is going to push that to the side and do what it wants. That's where your point come in, where you was right earlier. But I had to shake you up. I got to shake y'all up so y'all can start talking to me. And I'm not the only one talking. But with higher levels of anxiety that's associated with the emotion, with poor levels of emotional control and social intelligence, and vice versa. Not being able to control those disabilities can make us human, can make us not be able to control our emotions, can make us ignore those triggers, can make us react.
So what you're saying is that when our brains are focused on other things like our anxiety, our depression, so it's almost like there's no space for the possibility of regulating an emotion because you have so many other things going on in your brain, so many other things you're dealing with, that when that emotion comes up, it's just like an automatic, like knee jerk, because you don't have that space, right?
Right. So yes, we're human. Yes, we go through things. Yes, we have these awful experiences. But maybe that is an experience he needed to sit his ass down and get some real help, get some real therapy, chime in to himself, become more aware of himself. People call me too emotional. I always respond and say I'd rather be emotional than to not have / show emotions. Being emotional is important. I'm going to tell you why. Don't you feel release And you could be emotional in your own corner to yourself, but you're releasing. When you hold in emotions, that's not good. That makes it worse. That makes you have reactions like Will Smith. Because he held it in too long. He held it in, and no matter, it did not matter who said what, he was going to eventually go off. I see you.
I think that's a good point, because I think that's the connection between what Carmela was saying about being passive, right? Like the passiveness is actually not healthy, because truth of the matter is you're building things up. You're still going to respond at some point. It's just you're not responding all the time regularly, right? But that goes to the idea, I think, that like to regulate our emotions, what you're saying or what I'm hearing is that we have to have a outlet to express them. So there's a way you don't hold them in, right? So like Shahari is saying, but still I feel my emotions and feelings are valid, and people that care about me should be careful. And that, I think that makes total sense, right? Like we're talking about emotions are valid. Our emotions are valid. They are real. We are human. We are supposed to have emotions. However, I think the thing is, like, what do you do with those emotions is the conversation here, though, right? Because when we don't have regulation, that's when our emotions then can be sprayed on others, right? And there are some people that it's safe to do that with. I think we've had some of those conversations before where like you can pick one person that you can tell those emotions to, that's going to be neutral, that's going to just be that sounding board, that's going to be that that listening, right? And like you said, Shaharia, they care about you, so they're going to be that gentle space for you to give your emotions.
That's right. And your emotions are valid, always.
Right.
It don't matter how different you are emotional, whether you're angry, upset, happy, sad, whatever. Your emotions are always valid. Always.
But then I think, so what we're saying though, the difference is that when you don't have an outlet, right? When you don't have a way to do it in a neutral way where you're dealing with your emotions are coming with all this extra level. So it's like you can have your emotions and you can express those emotions in a place where it's like here. It's not like completely no emotion, it's some emotion, right? But when you hold it in for so long, like in the example of Will Smith, right? When you hold it in, what it's doing is building, and now it's up here. Now it's up here. So when it comes out, it's like
explosion.
Right? It's an explosion. And that's the whole thing with passive, right?
Right. But we only have a handful of real friends, and we can't limit our interactions to that circle. We do have to be able to navigate the world. And that is why you need to be aware of yourself. Literally. Because there's going to be times where people test you. There's going to be times where people know you so well that they know what your triggers are. They know how to trigger you. But that is when, again, you become aware of yourself so you can modulate your reactions, your own influence to your own reactions to people that's trying to trigger you in a bad way. This passive individual right here is going to express herself. That's right, it's your voice. But make sure you not emotionally abusing others, Miss Passive. So, going to what you were saying, Maria, as far as not having that outlet, yes, that is where that explosion comes from. And you do need an outlet. You need an outlet for when you're happy. You need an outlet for when you're sad. You need an outlet for when you're angry. What are your outlets when you're happy? What you do? You call and tell somebody about whatever it is that you're so excited about. That's an outlet. I'm telling someone. What you do when you're sad? You cry or you tell someone why you sad. That's an outlet. You're releasing. Your outlet is to release. How you release? As long as it's in a safe way for you and your environment, releasing is the outlet.
So, and I want to come back to that because I think like what Carmela said about the idea of, you were saying, right? Like, yes, express your emotions, right? But I think then the key is that you're doing it in a way, because you're not only harming others when you're emotionally reactive, right? But you're harming yourself. Right. And that's important, because in the end, it's not just about others, it's about ourselves, and you're harming yourself. It's always about you.
It start with you and end with you.
Yeah. So that regulation is helping you, and it's helping those around you to not get that intense amount of emotions. It's funny though that you said that, because literally this week, you asked me how my week is. One of the things is I was reflecting on voice memos I recently did. I've been doing, I used to do these voice memos sometimes when I had really strong emotions, and I didn't feel safe enough to tell anybody what I was going through or what I was feeling, right? So I would leave myself these voice memos, and I was listening to them this week, thinking about that level of emotion. And what I realized is that I let that emotion out, right? I let the extreme feelings, the extreme anger, the extreme sadness, all of it out. And it was no longer in me, even though I didn't give it to anybody else, but just giving it to myself in that moment, right? And when I went back and listened, it's interesting, because like I'm looking at it now and I'm like, oh, I'm so distanced from that. Like it was an emotion, but it's like it was this thing out there, and it's no longer something in here. And that's the power of releasing, right?
That's
it's
right.
No longer owning you. And this goes back to our purpose for this conversation, right? Like we're talking about, it's not about your emotions controlling you, but you controlling your emotions. Because when they don't own you, then you decide how you're going to share them. You decide whom you're going to share them with and what way you're going to do that, right?
You're on point. That's why you need to be more aware of yourself, which is a podcast that y'all got to check out, which I think I keep saying it, I'm going to bring it back, because that will be the last show of the season. I'll do that as the last show of the season.
That's a full circle.
Yeah, full circle.
Because that was our first one, wasn't it? Self-awareness, I believe.
That wasn't the very first one, was it?
It was probably around the very first.
It was in
the
our first
early
season.
Stages of our podcast life, because we've gone through some stages in this Bettermindz Interrupting life, right?
We have. So before we move forward, I want you to think about this question. In your time of hearing those tapes, don't answer it now. When we come back from the commercial, in your time of hearing those tapes, do you see any growth? In the meantime, check out this promotion of Yomichi.
I love that. So are we ready for the challenge? What is this challenge that I'm ready for?
Healing.
Okay.
Everybody's not ready to heal.
How do we know when we are?
When you're tired. When you're ready for your life to be different. When you're searching for peace. When you're searching for less chaos. When you're trying to get rid of negativity. When you're asking yourself, why does this keep happening? What's going on with me? Oh, it's driving me crazy. You need change. When you feel like you can make the change and handle the change, then you make it. You find ways. So did you thought about that question I asked you?
I did. I did.
Do you see any growth, and in what way?
So I definitely do. And it's interesting. So one, I would say what I thought about is I equate it to almost like childbirth.
Okay.
In that, like, you know, like once you, for those of us who are mothers, right? Like once you give birth, right? You forget the pain.
Right.
You forget the way the pain felt, right?
Right.
So you're able to move past it. You're able to have more kids, right? Like you're able to do it all over again, right? Because you forget the pain. And so one of the things that I noticed is that, like, as I was listening to these, is that pain was so far away from where I am today. So when you say, did I grow? Yeah, because it's like I was in such a broken place, right? And I knew nothing of how to get through that broken place. And the thing is that, like, those same kind of moments have happened that have triggered me in the last few months past that, right? That was like November and I think December. Okay. And like since then I've had similar incidents and things that have happened that have triggered me. But what I've been able to do in my growth is that the emotions didn't own me. I felt them. I gave them a space. I honored their existence. Like we said, right? We have emotions, right? So I honored that I'm feeling something, right? I stopped and listened to myself and I was like, I'm feeling this sadness. I'm feeling this anger. Where is it coming from? And this goes back to what we talked about last week and the week before, is that keep asking those questions. I kept asking myself questions. Why am I feeling this? Well, if I'm feeling it for this reason, why do I have that, right? Like, well, I'm fearful. So what am I fearful of? Why am I fearful of that? What do I worry is going to happen if this happens, right? Like, and how do I let go of that fear? Because let me bring it back to my reality, which is not this fear. It's this real thing, right? So yes, I grew a lot, because what I did was I gained control of emotions by understanding the root of those emotions differently. Ooh. By recognizing the impact those emotions were having on my mental state and my spiritual state. And now those emotions exist, but they don't control me.
Hello. So when did you realize you needed to make a change?
Oh, life made me realize.
Did you know? Life. You were asking yourself, why am I going through this? Why?
Like I was miserable, and yeah, like things kept coming at me, and I just kept being hurt over and over and over again. And like at a point, I was like, I'm tired of feeling hurt. I'm tired of feeling sidelined. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not enough. And why is it I feel like I'm not enough? Because I think I'm everything. And I should feel like I'm everything, but I don't feel like I'm everything. So what's making me not feel that? And that was my point where I started to be like, something has to change. I cannot keep doing the same thing over and over again, because I will keep getting the same damn results.
There you go. And since that was your pain to power, we got an episode coming up Sunday at 9 p.m. Would you like to tell us, or let's see what her pain to power is all about in her video?
My world has slowly crumbled around me countless times, and every time I rebuild with the pieces I've been given to birth something so transformational and beautiful that no one else knew might exist before it was shown to them. These moments tend to coincide within my romantic path. The universe has been telling me to focus on the revolution and not romance. It has over time given me the tools, resilience, and light to turn my pain into power. And only now do I see that the key to this always resided in the love and knowing I had in myself, not from the external sources of family or men. The message I have been avoiding might be that my time in this world I had existed in was not to receive love, but to put it out there for others to see, feel, and heal through. Revolution before romance moves pain into power.
Love it. So what we got going on this Sunday?
Oh, this Sunday is going to be awesome. And we've already had our guest in the chat today, Shaharia Johnson, who is the creator of the podcast Silence Kills. And also she has done some amazing things to take her own pain of going through some truly traumatic physical experiences and healing her body and her mind, and coming out with that pain to empowering herself and then empowering others. And so I want to correct myself. She is the CEO of the nonprofit Silence Kills. Thank you.
Okay.
And so and so we're going to hear her story because it's transformational. It's about power. It's about the healing power of love, but also of perseverance and resilience, and what that looks like and how that can come together to then heal others. So definitely tune in on Sunday night at 9 for Pain to Power, Leading with Love, with Shaharia as my very special guest, sharing her story of pain to power and leading with love.
Awesome. Okay, so let's end with this. There are ways to practice better emotional control. One technique to start increasing your emotional control is to take time to think on circumstances in between feeling and reacting. There are several techniques to become more conscious of your emotions and reactions, such as increasing self-awareness. We're going to have that show. I'm telling you. We're going to have it. It's very beneficial. Mindfulness methods and exercises are being practiced. You want to learn some mindfulness? You come on over to me. I'll get your mind at peace. Being more adaptable and changing our ways of thinking. Being more flexible to change through the use of appropriate coping strategies. Need to learn how to cope, which goes back to what you said earlier. What if you don't know how to react? Well, you got to learn these coping methods so you know how to react to certain triggers. That's all in the healing process. That's why I mentioned that he had no excuse, because he'd been there for a very long time. He's been in that healing space for a very long time. Other ways are being more optimistic and caring for yourself. Be positive. Take care of yourself. Do things you like. Be in the light, not the dark. Mm-hmm. And having the appropriate emotional support around you. That is the most important thing ever. When you're going through stuff, when you don't know how to handle something, if it's too overbearing, you need that good support group. And that support group could be anywhere from family that you know listens to you, don't spread your business or none of that, or friends that you can trust, or therapist, or life coach, or a random stranger. You got to get it out. But we all need that emotional support. You can't have it, you can't get it alone. So, with that being said, Maria, would you like to jump in, mention anything else?
No, I think this is so important. And like you said, it comes down to self-awareness. It comes down to knowing ourselves and understanding how to utilize the tools. So like Trini said, right? Like it's not just knowing your triggers, it's being able to put into effect a tool to address those triggers so that when that real emotion comes, you're ready for it. And you're not going to be owned by the emotion. You're going to have the control over it, which is the whole point of this, right?
It's the whole point. We need each other, family.
Yeah.
We need each other. And in closing, I'm going to repeat this again. Sunday, 9 p.m., Pain the Power. Check out my girl, Maria. Your girl, Maria. Brown Girl Interrupting. She's interrupting every damn body, okay? She wants to know your pain to your power, because your pain to power could help somebody else's pain so they can get to their power. And I'll leave you with these last inspiration words. Be true to yourself. Be authentic with yourself. Listen to yourself. Dive deep into knowing who you are. Learn what controlling your emotions can do for you. Learn your triggers. But most importantly, just learn to be at peace. Check us out next Thursday, 9 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace out.
Yeah. The mind frame's defined by the mind frame that finds it and finds that the mind frame isn't refined, and it reminds it that it's the mind that must define itself to be defined, and then rewind itself to the infinite inception to remind itself to realign itself in the belly of the beast. It will find itself, but it's a lion itself. Different animal in the same beast. I'm on a different road in the same street. I don't think you understand me, dancing to my own rhythm while on the same beat. I am what I was and will be what I am and what I said that I was, and then do what I couldn't do when I was who I was, and now do what I want because I am what I am, and that's a mindset. Homie, it's a mindset. It's 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 a mindset, brother. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, sister. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, nigga. It's a mindset. Yeah, I'm a walking affirmation, affirmed and amazing. Concerned and never worried, I'm firm and adjacent from the fears that I used to have, and I'm never complacent, and I never give up, and nothing I do is the basic. Everything is advancing, advancing toward advancement, killing all negative vibes, you get to cancel it. If it was written, then I am the transcript. No bad vibes and good vibes is what I transmit, and every day of the week is the damn shit, and it's another chance that you can't advance with. And if you understand and forever stand in it, and know who you standing with, I am what I was and will be what I am and what I said that I was, and then do what I couldn't do when I was who I was, and now do what I want because I am what I am, and that's a mindset. Homie, it's a mindset. It's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, brother. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, sister. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, homie. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, nigga. It's a mindset.